It was a quiet morning on Earth, the kind of day where everything seemed calm and the sun hung low in the sky. Humans had always lived in the shadow of a much bigger universe, but that was about to change. On this day, the Galactic Council, a group made up of the most powerful species in the galaxy, would finally make contact with humanity. No one on Earth knew exactly what to expect, but one thing was certain. They were nervous. Alex Carter stood in front of the grand hall where the meeting was to take place. The Council had sent their representatives to Earth to discuss humanity's place in the universe. The message had been clear. Earth was nothing more than a small, insignificant planet, and humanity was nothing more than a footnote in galactic history. Alex was a diplomat, one of the few humans chosen to represent Earth in this historic moment. They weren't a war hero or a scientist, but Alex had something most others didn't: confidence in humanity's potential. The Galactic Council, made up of beings from various advanced civilizations, had long ignored Earth's progress. To them, humans were primitive, stuck on a dying world, too weak to be of any real significance. But Alex refused to accept that view. As the doors to the hall opened, Alex stepped inside, their heart pounding in their chest. The room was enormous, with high ceilings and walls made of gleaming metal. At the far end of the room sat the Council's representatives, a mix of alien species from all corners of the galaxy. They sat in a semicircle, their eyes focused on the lone human standing before them. The Council was composed of beings who had lived for thousands of years, and their wisdom was said to be unmatched. Their technology was beyond anything humanity could even dream of, and their power was absolute. But humanity was about to challenge that. The first voice to speak came from an alien with green skin and 3 eyes. "Human," it said, its voice cold and dismissive. "You are here to represent your species, but what do you have to offer? Your planet is nothing compared to the great civilizations of the galaxy. Your technology is outdated, your people are weak, and your history is filled with conflict. What can you possibly contribute to the Galactic Council?" The other representatives nodded in agreement. A few even chuckled, clearly amused by the idea of humanity sitting at the same table as beings who could manipulate space and time. To them, it seemed laughable. But Alex was determined not to let their species be dismissed so easily. "I know what you think of us," Alex began, their voice steady despite the pressure. "But what you don't understand is that humanity has something no other species in the galaxy has. We have the ability to adapt, to overcome, and to fight when we have no chance of winning." The room fell silent. The Council members exchanged uncertain glances, as if they had never heard such a bold statement from a human before. The green-skinned alien leaned forward, clearly intrigued. "And how do you plan to prove this strength of yours?" it asked, its tone no longer mocking, but curious. Alex took a deep breath. This was the moment. "We're not like other species. We don't give up. Even when the odds are stacked against us, we fight back. And if you underestimate us, you'll learn the hard way what happens when you push humans too far." The silence stretched on for a moment, and then the Council began to murmur among themselves. They had expected a human to beg for approval, to plead for mercy, but instead they had encountered defiance. The alien with 3 eyes looked at Alex for a long moment, studying them carefully. Finally, it spoke. "We will give you one chance to prove your worth, human. One chance to show that humanity is not as weak as we believe." Alex's heart raced. This was the opportunity they had been waiting for, but it came with a heavy price. The Council wasn't going to make things easy. They would test humanity in ways no one could predict. "We will give you a task," the 3-eyed alien continued. "If you succeed, you may become a part of the Galactic Council. But if you fail, humanity will be nothing more than a curiosity in the eyes of the galaxy." Alex nodded. They knew the stakes were high, but they also knew that humanity had something that no other species had: determination. They would not let Earth fall into obscurity, not without a fight. The Council stood in unison, their tall forms towering over Alex, "We will watch you closely, human," the green alien said. "Prove us wrong, and you may find a place among us. Fail, and humanity will remain nothing more than a footnote in the history of the galaxy." As Alex walked out of the hall, their mind raced. The challenge had been set. The stakes were higher than anything they could have imagined. But one thing was clear: they would not back down. Humanity's future was on the line, and they would do whatever it took to prove their worth. The doors closed behind Alex with a loud thud, and for the first time, they felt a spark of hope. They weren't just fighting for their own survival anymore. They were fighting to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. The Council had underestimated them. Now, it was time to show them what humanity could do. Alex spent the next few days preparing, running through countless scenarios in their mind. The Council's words echoed in their head. If you fail, humanity will be nothing more than a curiosity. The pressure was immense, but Alex was determined not to let Earth down. They had been given a chance, and they were going to make sure humanity's resilience was proven. The task the Council had set was simple in its premise, but terrifying in its execution. Alex was to lead a small team to a distant planet, a place the Council considered to be a death world, a hostile environment so dangerous that no species had ever dared to set foot there. If Alex and their team could survive and complete the mission, they would be allowed to represent Earth in the Galactic Council. If they failed, it would prove that humanity wasn't strong enough to be a part of the greater galactic community. The journey to the death world was swift, but Alex spent every minute on the ship preparing for the unknown. The team consisted of 4 other humans, each chosen for their skills: survival experts, engineers, and medics, those who could withstand extreme conditions. But none of them had faced anything like this before. No human had. The ship's windows showed nothing but the endless darkness of space as they traveled toward their destination. As they approached the planet, the sensors on the ship began to pick up strange readings. The surface was rocky and covered in an atmosphere that was toxic to most life forms. Storms raged across the planet's surface, and there were signs of strange, deadly creatures lurking just beneath the surface. Alex glanced at the faces of the team members. They were nervous, but they had faith in Alex's leadership. They were ready. At least, they hoped they were. When they finally landed, the atmosphere outside was thick, almost suffocating. Every breath felt heavy, and the air tasted bitter. The team suited up, their protective gear sealing them from the planet's hostile environment. The first steps outside the ship were met with silence, broken only by the howling winds and the distant crackling of thunder. The team moved cautiously, scanning the terrain with every step. The planet was vast, and nothing on it seemed familiar or comforting. It wasn't long before the team encountered their first challenge. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and without warning, the earth split open, sending a geyser of molten rock shooting into the sky. The team scrambled to avoid the eruption, but Alex's quick thinking saved them. They found shelter in a nearby cave system, the walls shuddering from the aftershocks of the eruption. Inside, the air was cooler, but the danger was far from over. The cave was not empty. Strange, glowing eyes watched them from the shadows. The team was on edge, their senses heightened as they moved deeper into the cave. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional drip of water from the stalactites. Suddenly, there was movement, a hiss, followed by a series of sharp clicks. Before anyone could react, a large creature lunged at them from the darkness. It was fast, larger than any predator they had encountered, with claws sharp enough to tear through their armor. Alex's team quickly fell into action, their training kicking in. But despite their best efforts, the creature was relentless. It moved with a terrifying precision, and the team struggled to hold their ground. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, Alex spotted something, an exposed weak spot on the creature's side. It was a small opening, but it was enough. With a well-aimed strike, Alex disabled the creature, sending it crashing to the ground. Breathing heavily, the team gathered around. Their hearts were pounding, but Alex kept them focused. "This is just the beginning," they said, their voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through their veins. "We need to keep moving. We have a mission to complete." As the team made their way through the cave, they faced more challenges: hostile wildlife, dangerous terrain, and toxic gases that threatened to knock them out at any moment. Yet, with every challenge, Alex pushed them forward. They knew that humanity's strength was not in its numbers, nor in its technology, but in its determination. It was this strength that would carry them through, even when the odds seemed impossible. As the team neared their objective, Alex began to feel the weight of the mission pressing on them. They had to complete this task, no matter the cost. The fate of humanity's future in the galaxy was riding on their shoulders. They knew the Galactic Council was watching closely, and failure was not an option. But as they reached the final stretch, the real test would come. Would humanity be able to survive the unimaginable, or would they be wiped out, just like every other species that had dared to challenge this world? The team's journey through the perilous planet continued. With every step, Alex could feel the pressure mounting. They weren't just fighting for their survival anymore. They were fighting to prove humanity's worth. The challenge was bigger than any of them had imagined. But what kept Alex going was the thought of the Galactic Council watching, waiting for them to fail. The more they tried to anticipate the dangers ahead, the more they realized just how unprepared they were for what the planet would throw at them. After days of navigating through treacherous caves and jungles filled with hostile creatures, the team reached the site where their mission would be tested. They were to retrieve a rare mineral that could revolutionize energy production, something the Council had never believed humanity was capable of discovering. It was buried deep in a mountain, surrounded by even more terrifying dangers. The moment they arrived at the base of the mountain, Alex realized that they weren't just dealing with nature. They were facing a well-organized threat. There was a strange structure built into the side of the mountain. It was ancient, clearly not of human design. The architecture was unlike anything they had ever seen, alien, yet somehow familiar. The team approached cautiously, knowing this was no ordinary place. As they drew closer, the air grew thick with tension, and their sensors picked up movement. They were not alone. Out of the shadows emerged a group of creatures, bipedal and covered in thick armor. They looked like hunters, and Alex immediately recognized that they weren't just any predators. These were the guardians of the rare mineral, sentient beings with a singular purpose: to protect the mineral at all costs. The team quickly huddled together, preparing for a confrontation. Alex's heart raced. This was it, the moment they had feared. They had to fight their way through or risk failing the mission and proving the Council right. The creatures advanced with surprising speed, their armor glowing in the dim light of the mountain. Alex quickly ordered the team into position, ready to defend themselves. The creatures didn't waste time. They lunged, claws outstretched, intent on tearing through the team's defenses. The battle was intense, but Alex's leadership and quick thinking allowed them to hold their ground. They used the terrain to their advantage, leading the creatures into narrow passages where their larger forms struggled to move. It was a dangerous game, but it worked. One by one, the creatures fell, and the team pressed on, determined to reach their goal. As they made their way deeper into the mountain, they discovered something that sent chills down Alex's spine: a massive chamber filled with the rare mineral they had come to retrieve. The sight was breathtaking, but they didn't have time to admire it. The creatures were only temporarily delayed, and they would return. Alex knew they had to act fast. The team quickly set up a device to extract the mineral, but the process was slow and risky. Every minute they spent in the chamber brought them closer to the creature's return. It was in that moment that Alex realized just how far humanity had come. They weren't just surviving, they were adapting. The creatures had underestimated them. The Galactic Council had underestimated them. They had thought humans were weak, that they couldn't handle the harshest environments, the most dangerous threats. But Alex knew better. Humanity had always been at its best when it was pushed to its limits. And now, standing in the heart of the planet, Alex could see the proof of that strength. With the minerals secured, the team began their retreat. But the journey back was just as perilous as the journey forward. The creatures were closing in, and the mountain itself seemed to shift, as if the planet itself were fighting against them. The team pushed forward, running out of time and energy. Alex's mind raced. The weight of their mission was more than just the success of their mission. It was about proving humanity's place in the galaxy. As they neared the exit, disaster struck. One of the team members was injured in a final confrontation with the creatures. The rest of the team quickly carried their comrade to safety, but the moment was a stark reminder of the dangers they faced. Every decision, every move, could be their last. But Alex refused to back down. They couldn't. Not now. As the team finally made it back to the ship, the sky above them cracked open with another storm, the winds howling like the fury of 1,000 beasts. But they had done it. They had completed the mission. The Galactic Council would have no choice but to acknowledge humanity's strength, not just in surviving, but in thriving against all odds. But Alex knew that this was only the beginning. The Council may have underestimated humanity's power, but they would soon learn the true extent of it. The real battle had just begun. As the team boarded the ship and began their journey back to their home base, Alex couldn't help but reflect on everything that had happened. The mission had been far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. Yet, in the midst of it all, they had proven something powerful to the galaxy. Humanity could handle the unthinkable and survive in the most hostile conditions. The mineral was safely secured, but it was more than just a scientific achievement. It was a symbol of humanity's unyielding spirit. Alex's thoughts turned to the Galactic Council, the very same group that had once dismissed humans as nothing more than a fragile species. The same council that had believed humanity wasn't ready for galactic exploration or interaction. They were about to see just how wrong they were. As the ship's engines hummed, the crew members tried to relax, but the tension in the air was palpable. They knew their mission had been successful, but that didn't mean the fight was over. In fact, the real challenge lay ahead. Once the Council realized what humanity was capable of, they would no longer underestimate them. Alex could already hear the murmurs in the Galactic Council chambers, the whispers of doubt, the disbelief. They would have to face humanity head-on, and that, Alex believed, would be their greatest challenge. The journey back to Earth was long, and during that time, Alex and the crew spent countless hours discussing what to do next. The future seemed uncertain, and the weight of their actions weighed heavily on them all. It wasn't just about one successful mission. It was about changing the way the entire galaxy viewed humanity. They had come to realize that this was their moment. The time had come to take their place among the stars. Meanwhile, the Council on Earth was growing more restless by the day. The media buzzed with reports of the team's success and the shockwaves it had sent throughout the galaxy. But there was also concern among the leadership. Many wondered if humanity had bitten off more than it could chew. Some feared the implications of their newfound power. Alex had no doubt that those in charge would be both frightened and impressed by what they had accomplished. The mineral they had retrieved was a game-changer. It had the potential to power entire civilizations, to change the course of history. The Council would no longer have the luxury of ignoring humanity's role in the galaxy. The very thing they had once feared, a human species with the ability to fight and survive against impossible odds, had just become a reality. When they finally arrived back at Earth, the crew was greeted as heroes, but Alex could sense that something was off. There was an unease in the air, as if everyone was holding their breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The truth was, humanity's newfound power came with a price. The Council would be forced to acknowledge them, but would they accept humanity as an equal? Or would they attempt to suppress this power before it became too much to handle? The moment Alex stepped off the ship and onto the tarmac, they were surrounded by reporters and officials. They had questions, demands, But Alex had only one focus. The mission was a success, but the real work had just begun. This was about proving humanity's worth not just to the Council, but to the entire galaxy. And that would require more than just one successful mission. They needed to prove they could handle the responsibility that came with their newfound strength. With the mineral in their possession, the team was immediately whisked away to secure locations where scientists began working on understanding its full potential. But Alex's thoughts were on a bigger picture. The Council would come for them. They would want to know what humanity could do with this new power, and they would want to control it. As the days passed, Alex began to notice an increase in the number of Council representatives arriving on Earth. Their presence was subtle but growing. Tensions were rising, and it was clear that the next steps would determine the future of humanity's place in the galaxy. Would they be embraced as equals, or would they become pawns in the political game of galactic diplomacy? For now, Alex and the crew could only wait, but they knew one thing. Humanity had proven its strength, and they were no longer the underdogs. The Galactic Council might think they were in control, but Alex knew the truth. They had awakened something in humanity that couldn't be put back to sleep. The Council would soon realize that humanity wasn't just a species to be overlooked. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the next time they were called upon, humanity wouldn't just fight to survive. They would fight to win. As the days passed, the atmosphere around Earth became increasingly tense. The Galactic Council, once dismissive of humanity, now watched with intense interest. The mineral, now analyzed and understood, had the potential to change everything. It could power entire fleets, create new energy sources, and possibly even alter the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity, for the first time, had something the galaxy desperately needed, and the Council knew it. The political game had begun. Earth was now a central player, but not everyone was ready to accept it. Some factions within the Galactic Council still held on to their old prejudices and were unwilling to accept the rise of humanity. They feared what this could mean for their long-established control over the galaxy. Others saw the potential of human innovation and strength, but they were cautious, unsure of whether humanity could be trusted with such power. Alex could feel the pressure mounting. They had accomplished the impossible, but the hardest part was still ahead, negotiating their place in a galaxy that had long seen them as inferior. The mineral wasn't just a commodity, it was a symbol of humanity's potential. The Council couldn't ignore it, and they couldn't ignore what humanity had done. The question now was whether they would try to control this power or embrace humanity as an equal. Meanwhile, the crew was being pulled in different directions. Some members of the team, like Alex, were ready to face the Galactic Council head-on, eager to show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. Others were more cautious, fearing that provoking the Council could lead to catastrophic consequences. The divide within the team was growing, but Alex knew one thing for sure: waiting was no longer an option. Humanity had proven its strength, and now the galaxy needed to recognize it. The Council's representatives arrived on Earth, one by one. They came with their entourages, their demands, and their expectations. But Alex wasn't intimidated. They had faced worse threats, survived impossible odds, and returned with proof that humanity could not be ignored. It was time to take control of the situation. They would not be treated as subordinates. They would not beg for respect. Humanity had earned its place, and the Council would soon understand that. The first meeting with the Council was tense. Alex stood at the front of the room, the crew at their side, while representatives from all corners of the galaxy sat across from them. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. The Council members exchanged glances, unsure of how to proceed. For the first time in a long while, they were the ones in a position of weakness. Humanity had something they needed, and they knew it. "What is it that you want, Captain Alex?" one of the Council members asked, his voice low but carrying the weight of authority. Alex met his gaze, unflinching. "We want to be treated as equals. No more underestimating us. No more dismissing us as a lesser species. Humanity has proven its strength, and now it's time for the galaxy to recognize that. The room fell silent. The weight of Alex's words hung in the air. They were challenging the status quo, but they were right. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for far too long, and now it was time for the Council to pay the price for that mistake. They had not just faced impossible odds, they had overcome them. Humanity had proven its resilience, its resourcefulness, and its determination. "We will not be your pawns," Alex continued, their voice steady and strong. "If you want to make use of the mineral, fine, but we will not be controlled. Humanity will stand on its own, and you will either accept that or face the consequences." The council members exchanged nervous looks, but there was something in Alex's eyes, a fire, a resolve, that made them pause. For the first time in a long time, humanity was standing tall. They were no longer the weak, fragile species that had been pushed around by the galaxy's most powerful empires. They had the strength to shape their own destiny. "We'll need time to consider your demands," the council member said, his voice filled with uncertainty. "This changes everything. We cannot just ignore what you've done." "You've had plenty of time to ignore us," Alex replied, their voice cutting through the tension. "But now it's time for you to face the reality. Humanity is here to stay." With that, the meeting ended, but the battle for humanity's place in the galaxy had only just begun. The Council would not let go of their power easily, but Alex knew that they couldn't be stopped. The strength of humanity had been unleashed, and nothing, not even the most powerful factions in the galaxy, could suppress it. As Alex left the room, they couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The Council had been shaken. They had seen humanity's power, and now they knew what was at stake. The future of the galaxy was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had taken its first step toward becoming a force that no one could ignore. The months that followed the tense meeting with the Galactic Council were filled with political maneuvering and covert dealings. Humanity, once dismissed as weak and insignificant, was now a powerful player in the galaxy. But the fight for respect was far from over. Alex and the crew found themselves constantly under pressure from different factions, each with their own interests in the newly discovered mineral. Some factions wanted to form alliances, while others sought to take control of the mineral and its potential. But Alex knew that humanity had the upper hand now. They had the resource the galaxy needed, and they were no longer afraid to use it. The Council, divided among themselves, struggled to come to a consensus on how to handle humanity's rise. Some members pushed for cooperation, recognizing the value in forming an alliance with Earth. But others, especially those who had long viewed humanity as inferior, pushed for more aggressive tactics. They were unwilling to let go of their old prejudices and fears, unwilling to accept the changing power dynamics. For Alex, this was more than just about minerals or power. It was about proving to the galaxy, and to themselves, that humanity was not to be underestimated. The days of being treated like second-class citizens were over. Humanity had earned its place, and Alex would do everything in their power to ensure that no one would take that away. The crew, still unsure of what the future held, continued to support Alex through the challenges. They had seen humanity survive the impossible, and now they were ready to stand with their captain. Alex had inspired them, and together they had formed a bond that no one could break. The crew knew that their loyalty to Alex and to humanity's future was what mattered most. Tensions were high as new factions began to emerge, each with their own agenda. Some of the Galactic Council members began reaching out, offering negotiations and compromises, while others began to make subtle threats. The threat of war loomed over Earth, but Alex remained resolute. They were not afraid of a fight. They had already fought and won battles that seemed impossible. Now they had to make sure that humanity's future would not be determined by the whims of those who still saw them as beneath them. The Black Ship, still in orbit above Earth, remained a constant reminder of humanity's potential. The technology it contained, the secrets it held, could change the course of history. But Alex knew that it wasn't just about the technology. It was about humanity's ability to adapt, to grow, and to fight for their place in the galaxy. And if the Council refused to recognize that, humanity would show them exactly what they were capable of. The Council had underestimated humanity before, but this time, Alex knew they wouldn't make that mistake again. The ship's awakening had only been the beginning. Now, humanity was ready to take the next step. And this time, they wouldn't be waiting for permission. The crew was preparing for their next move. The Council's representatives had promised to return, but the tension was unbearable. Alex could feel the weight of the galaxy's expectations, the pressure mounting with every passing day. What if they couldn't hold their ground? What if the Council decided that humanity's strength was a threat too great to tolerate? What if the galaxy turned on them? The fear was there, but it was met with something stronger: resolve. Humanity had fought too long and too hard to let it all slip away now. The next confrontation with the Council would be decisive. Alex and the crew knew it would be a turning point. They could either secure humanity's place among the stars or face the consequences of their actions. But there was no going back. The mineral, the power, the strength of humanity. It all came down to this moment. As the date of the next meeting with the Galactic Council drew closer, Alex prepared for the unknown. There was no telling what the future held, but one thing was certain: humanity had made its mark, and no matter what came next, they would fight to keep their place in the galaxy. The day of the final confrontation arrived. The air was thick with anticipation, both on Earth and throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council had issued a final call for negotiations, a meeting that would either secure humanity's future or signal the beginning of a new war. Alex stood on the command deck of the black ship, staring out at the stars. The ship was more than just a vessel. It was a symbol of humanity's strength, of their survival, and of their defiance. They had come so far, but the fight was not over. The crew, once filled with doubts, had grown into a formidable force under Alex's leadership. They were no longer just a ragtag team. They were warriors, diplomats, and survivors. They had proven themselves time and time again, and now it was their time to claim what was rightfully theirs. The Council could no longer treat them like they were insignificant. Humanity had shown its power, and now it was time to see if the galaxy would accept them as equals, or if they would force humanity to fight for their place in the stars. As the black ship made its way toward the Galactic Council's meeting place, Alex's mind raced. The stakes had never been higher. This wasn't just about the mineral anymore. It was about the future of humanity. What would the Council do? Would they finally accept humanity's rise, or would they try to crush it out of fear? Alex had prepared for both possibilities, but the uncertainty still gnawed at them. The Council chamber was a vast, sterile place, its walls lined with holographic displays and seated representatives from every corner of the galaxy. The leaders had gathered in a tense silence, their eyes fixed on the entrance as Alex and the crew entered. The weight of history seemed to hang in the air. For the first time, humanity wasn't entering the room as a subordinate. They were there as equals. At least, that was the plan. The Council members eyed Alex with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Many had underestimated humanity from the beginning, and now, with the black ship and the power of the mysterious mineral at their disposal, they were forced to reconsider. The arrogance that had once marked their demeanor had faded, replaced with a tense wariness. Alex could see the fear in their eyes. They feared what humanity could become. "We have called this meeting to discuss the future of Earth and its role in the galaxy," one of the Council members began, their voice cold and formal. "You have made a powerful case for your strength, but the question remains, what do you truly want from the galaxy?" Alex stood tall, unwavering. The time for words had passed. Humanity had already shown the galaxy what it was capable of. Now, it was time for the Council to understand that humanity wasn't just here to survive. They were here to thrive. "We don't want your permission." Alex replied firmly, their voice echoing across the room. "We've already proven that we don't need it. We want respect. We want a place in this galaxy as equals. We won't be treated as inferior any longer. And if you can't accept that, then we'll take what we need by force." The room fell silent. The council members exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond. Alex's words had struck a nerve, and the tension in the chamber was palpable. For the first time, humanity was speaking with the kind of confidence that the galaxy had never seen before. They weren't asking for a seat at the table, they were claiming it. One of the more aggressive council members, a tall alien with shimmering blue skin, stood up. "You threaten us with your power, human. Do you really believe you can challenge us?" Alex's gaze never wavered. "It's not a threat. It's a promise. Humanity doesn't back down. And if you choose to stand in our way, you'll learn that the hard way." The tension escalated. For a moment, it seemed like a fight might break out right there in the chamber. But then, something unexpected happened. A soft voice spoke up from the far side of the room, cutting through the tension. "I think we've all underestimated humanity," the voice said. It belonged to one of the older, more respected council members, a race known for their wisdom and neutrality. "But perhaps it's time we acknowledged that they're not the same species we once thought them to be." The room fell silent again, and for the first time, there was a shift in the atmosphere. The council members, who had once viewed humanity as little more than a nuisance, were now being forced to confront the reality of humanity's potential. Alex's heart raced, but they held their ground. They knew that this moment was crucial. The future of humanity hinged on the decisions made here today. If the Council could accept humanity's strength and acknowledge their place in the galaxy, then a new era could begin. But if they refused, then war would be inevitable. "We're not here to fight," Alex said, their voice calm but resolute. "But if you force us to, we will. Humanity will do whatever it takes to secure our future. We're no longer your pawns. We are a force to be reckoned with." The room was still. The council members exchanged more glances, this time with a sense of unease. The power dynamics were shifting, and they could no longer ignore it. Alex and humanity had earned their place in the galaxy, and they would fight to protect it. The meeting continued, but the tone had changed. No longer was humanity being spoken of as a lesser species. Now they were being treated with the respect they had long deserved. The Council had realized that underestimating humanity was a mistake they could no longer afford to make. As the meeting came to a close, Alex and the crew stood tall, their heads held high. They had made their point. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they would no longer be silenced or ignored. The future of Earth was no longer uncertain. It was theirs to shape. The black ship had awakened, and with it, humanity's strength had been reborn. And as they left the council chamber, Alex couldn't help but smile. This was only the beginning. Humanity had a future in the stars, and nothing would take that away from them.